We're going to be looking at another graph, and that would be histograms. Histograms are great when the numbers are spread out and there's a lot more numbers. Dot plots can be a pain when there are a lot of numbers because we have to put a dot above each number, also when the numbers are really spread out. So histograms are great when we have a large amount of data and the data is spread out. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a frequency table with a minimum of 5 intervals. Then we're going to count each frequency in the intervals. And then at the very end, what we're going to do is we're going to draw 5 bins, sometimes called bars, and we make sure there's no gaps in between. So for the first one, what we're going to do is we're going to look at our interval and then frequency. So we have 0 to 9, we have 10 to 19, we have 20 to 29, we have 30 to 39, and we have 40 to 49. First thing that I do is I look to see if I can go by tens. So I look for my minimum number, which in this case is 1, and then I look at my maximum number, which is 45. So I know I can do 5 intervals. If it happened to end at 35 and there would only be 4 intervals, then what I usually go by is 5s or maybe some other multiple. In this case, it worked out with tens, so I count how many are in the first one. So 5, 7, 4, and 1 would be a total of 4. Then I look in 10 through 19, so that would be 14 and 19, which would be 2. Then I look in the 20s, so that would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I'm going to look in the 30s, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to look in the 40s, 1, 2, and 3 also. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my histogram. And I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to go by tens. And I'm going to end at 50. Even though 50 isn't here, in order to follow the pattern, I'm going to end with 50. Now when I'm doing my histogram, the 0 through 9 is in the middle, so the 0 is included, the 10 is not included. So when I go up to 4, which is my maximum, I'm going to draw a bar or a bin, and then my X would be my interval. So the next one would be 2, and then I have 4 again, and then I have 2 at 3. Now what I'm going to do is my description. I'm going to describe the distribution. So I'm going to talk about my shape, which would be approximately symmetric. And the reason why is because if I were to take this one right here and put it right here, it would be exactly symmetric. So it's basically 1 point or 1 number from being perfectly symmetric. So that's why I say approximately symmetric. Outliers would be none. And then the center, I'm not going to talk about mode. What I'm going to do is talk about peaks. And we have 2 peaks. We have 0 to 9, and we have 20 to 29. And then the spread, I'm going to still use the range. And my highest was 45, and my lowest was 1, so that gives me a range of 44. So looking at the next one, once again, I'm going to look at the interval. I see that my my lowest number would be 52, And my highest number would be 83. So I can't go by tens because that would be 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. That's only 4 groups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go by fives. So with my interval, and then I have my frequency. I'm going to go 50 to 54, 55 to 59, 60 to 64, 65 to 69, 70 to 74, 75 to 79, and then 80 to 84. And I'm going to count all the ones from 50 to 54, and that would be 1. And then I'm going to look at 55 to 59, and that would be 2. Then I'm going to look at 60 to 64, and that would also be 2. Then I'm going to look at 65 to 69, and that would be 1. Then 70 to 74, 1, 2, and 3. And then I have 75 to 79, 1, 2, and 3. And then I have 80 to 84. So I have 3 also. This time I'm not starting at 0, so I'm going to put 2 slashes, and I can start wherever I want. So I'm going to start at 50, and I'm going to go by 5s, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, and then I'm going to end at 85. The highest number is 3, so I'm going to go up to 3. And I'm going to look at the bins. So I have 1, and then I have 2 at 2, and then I have another 1, and then I have 3 at 3. So when I'm looking at my shape, I'm going to say skewed left, and then outliers would be none. That would be multiple gaps where I need an outlier. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my center, and I'm going to look at the peaks. And I have peaks from 70 to 74, 75 to 79, and 80 to 84. Then the spread, I'm going to use the range. And my largest value was 83, and my smallest value was 52, and so that would give me 31. So looking at our last one, once again, I'm going to look for my minimum value, which in this case would be 35. I'm going to look at my largest value, which in this case would be 95. So I can go by tens. So my interval and frequency. So I'm going to go 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, 90 to 99. I'm going to look at the frequencies. So how many are in the 30s? It's just the one. How many are in the 40s? I have 1, 2. How many in the 50s? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many in the 60s? 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last one, 5. How many in the 70s? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the 80s, I have 1, 2, 3. And then 1 in the 90s. So I'm not starting at 0. So I'm going to put the 2 slashes, and I have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. My highest frequency is 5. And then I'm going to draw my bins. So I have 1, 2, I have 4, I have 2 at 5, I have a 3, and a 1. So when we're describing the shape, it would be skewed left, no outliers, our center would be peaks at 60 to 69 and 70 to 79. And the spread would be the range. And we're looking at 95 minus 35, which would be 60.